the good. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I call to order the Emergency EMS Oversight Board meeting for today is September 14, 2022, and it's 2:04 p.m. And we do have a quorum. And do we want to do the roll call of sorts, Michael, or this is good enough?
I just want to note at the moment that we have present Executive Staff Paul Sadu. Absent is Council Member Tyler Bird.
Okay.
Absent is Paul Walker. Present is Commissioner Roy Graham. Present is Mayor Scott Tice from Linden. Rick Kowski, our citizen at large from Cascade Ambulance. Mayor Seth Wood from the city of Bellingham. Dr. Rush from the medical community's absence day. Council member Michael Lillquist from the Bellingham City Council is present.
Great. Okay, the first item is confirmation of the minutes of June 15, 22 meeting. I need a motion.
One item I think needs to be added to the previous minutes is Rick Kowski was not listed as board member not present. If we could please add that.
Okay.
With that change, I move approval of the minutes.
Any second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Rick and Michael. And any other comments? So I just make sure that Mike, that you include that Rick's amendment to the minutes. Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any objections? Let's put it this way, simpler. Seeing none, that minutes are approved unanimously. The second item is financial review. That's for Tyler Schroeder. Tyler, you want to talk generally about it, please?
Oh, yeah, I sure can. Thanks, Executive Sadu. Tyler Schroeder here, Chair of the Finance Committee there for the EOB and background. In general, the financial projections are the same as the last discussions that we had. I'm going off of a June 2015 projection that shows a projected ending fund balance at the end of 2022 at $14.6 million. So that includes all of the anticipated or budgeted expenditures in 22, including cost of the 5th unit implementation, the $1.4 million for the gurney lift kits that we have been talking about in the last couple of meetings, and the $5 million BLS distribution. So that ending fund balance at 14.6 million is greater than the reserve target, which is 70% of expenditures. That number turns out to be $12.7 million. So as has been in the past, EMS levy in the fund is healthy. And I don't know if there's any other questions or comments that I can answer, but it's pretty similar to how it has been the last couple times.
Tyler, I'm sorry, what was the reserve target?
12.79.
Thank you.
12.8 million, and that's without the, because remember, Councilmember Lillquist, it's 70% of expenditures, and so that's without the $6.4 million, the $5 million allocation to BLS, and the $1.4 million for the gurney kits. That 70% isn't inclusive of that because those are kind of one-time expenditure. 12.8 million.
Okay.
Tyler, I got a question. The gurney money, I know we haven't spent the BLS distribution, but what about the gurney money and the 5th unit implementation? Has that money actually been spent, or is that just sitting there waiting to be spent?
I'll leave that to Mike if he can. He's in the office there. I know the contracts for the gurney allocation are going through the process and soon to be signed. But Mike, if you can add a little bit more detail to both those expenditures.
Yeah, last night, a council meeting, they approved and moved forward the amendment to the ALS 360 contract, which is $121,000 increase. And so that will add all the new equipment for the new medic unit, as well as put 56 of those power load systems into the maintenance agreement. And then at the moment, we have a purchase order requisition ready to go for the remaining 10 power load units that need to be purchased for those departments that haven't purchased them already. That should be approved in the next council meeting. It's a purchase over 40,000, so council just has to approve that purchase. And then the third piece, which is the reimbursement of the additional 35 power load units, is working through the process now. It's been a little bit trickier, but all those contracts are all typed up, ready to go, and those will be under council approval, probably.
Mike, your voice is really breaking up. It's hard to hear.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll talk more to the TV. So just a short recap. Yes, that money's been obligated. Council has approved those processes, including last night's amendment to the ALS 360 contract. The 10 power loads are in finance right now, waiting a requisition for a purchase order. And then the reimbursement contracts are being worked on right now. Legal has looked at them and approved the language form on that. We'll see what council for that contract probably in October.
And the 50 unit implementation, is that obligated as well?
All those monies, yeah, so there was money in 21 and 22 for Bellingham for a total of 2.2 million. Bellingham is invoiced on some of that, but I don't let Bellingham speak where that comes in, but I know Medicaid is on board.
Mike, for what it's worth, your microphone is really bad.
Yeah.
What are we using for microphone?
Yeah,
Do you guys have a common microphone or it's separate for each other?
I can't hear anything he's saying.
Yeah.
Can you hear me when I talk?
Yeah, this was better.
Project louder, executive.
Mike, do you know if the microphone's going through the TV or through the actual phone?
The TV camera, that camera on top of the television.
It might be worth to actually call in using the telephone and use the speaker component off the telephone if it's right there next to the computer.
There's no problem with the microphone.
Mike, do you have a camera and a microphone on your laptop?
Yeah, I do. I'll just use that. So go ahead.
There it
Does
is.
sound a little bit better?
Much better. Okay, you want to explain again about the gurneys and those power, whatever the power units were?
Yeah, thanks, Seth. Paul.
You need to turn the speaker off on the
I'll know
television.
that one, yeah. So just to recap that, yes, County Council signed the ALS 360 agreement last night. That ups that amount to include the new equipment for the paramedic unit up in Linden. Also includes the amount needed for the maintenance agreements for 56 power loads that are in the BLS units. The second piece of that was for the purchase of 10 new power loads for the departments that hadn't purchased them yet. And so that purchase order is sitting in finance right now, and just will need council signature in 2 weeks when it goes through them, because it's a purchase over 40,000, but the budget authority has already been approved for that. And the third piece right now, contracts are all written up. The attorney has looked at them and approved a form. Those contracts will need to go through county council in October for that remaining reimbursement of, I believe, about $800,000 for all the power loads that were purchased by the BLS groups prior to all this work going on. So all that money's been obligated for a total of 1.4 million, and we should have that completed hopefully by the end of October, getting that through council.
Right. Any questions, comments on this?
Turn my sound on.
Okay. Yes, please.
So great, yeah. So that's for that piece, that Paul.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is Mike Healy on DEI amendment and additional EOB members.
Yeah, thank you, Seth Paul. At last night's council meeting, Councilmember Frazee had introduced a change into with the EMS Oversight Board ordinance that would include 2 new members that would represent the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that was recommended by council. That amendment passed last night. And so the EOB now needs to consider how they would like to move forward with those additional 2 positions. I believe Councilmember Frazee last night framed that fairly flexible for the EOB. That could include a couple of members from either the fire service, could be a citizen representation, or maybe organizational representations from organizations that do that type of work. So the EOB needs to consider how they would add those 2 positions on. And in addition, part of that language is associated with designing and identifying the processes and elements of a strategic plan for the levy moving forward in the next 6 years. So for the EMS Oversight Board, those are the 2 things that came out of that, and they would need to discuss how they would add those positions on.
You're starting to get feedback, Mr. Healy,
Did you have everything on?
or somebody else is getting feedback.
Yeah, people should turn their mics off.
That's the problem. Other people might.
Yeah.
No, I'm not on.
So I think that's better.
Okay, yeah, so I would really like to get some preliminary comments. I know it's pretty quick to inform everybody and see their comments, but anyways, if anybody has any comments about 2 extra members or DEI language or 2 DEI members, we can have some discussion on that.
Yeah, and executives to do, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Galloway, who's in attendance today. I know that Councilmember Galloway had some work with that language and that amendment with Councilmember Frazee. And if it's okay, I think Councilmember Galloway would like to offer some insight.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for having me today. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Yeah, I think the resolution that passed last night, 7-0, is just really exciting opportunity for us to, institutionalize a process moving forward that continues to build upon the good work that you all have been doing, and continuing to bring new voices and perspectives to the table, and really thinking, as we're addressing the EMS levy this year, but also what it's going to look like in the next 7 years and for the cycles after that. So Councilmember Frazee was lead on this, and so I'm happy to try to answer any questions you might have, or I may need to defer to her as well. I was hoping today to just kind of serve as in a listening role and follow up with you all as needed.
Anybody else has any comments on that? Or how should we go about getting 2 additional members?
This is Scott. If you could have some of the, I guess, criteria that was in the motion last night of what kind of people you're looking for, and send that to the board, and over the next, between now and when we meet next, maybe we can come up with a few names.
Okay, that's fair. Tyler, if you could please make sure that we send that the resolution to all the board members. Okay, so
Can I do a question, actually? I just want to make sure there was an ordinance that was passed by the city and the county that set forth the membership of the EOB. And to my recollection, that if there was any change to that, it had to be done in writing between both councils and signed by the mayor and the executive. And I just want to make sure that we're following process on that. The joint resolutions that I have are 2012-13 for the city, and there's another one. So I would like to maybe circle back to that and do some research, because if we didn't follow the process on that, I think we should circle back on it.
sure, that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, what Mayor Courthouse has said, that we can send the information to the board members so that they can read through and form their opinions or suggestions, so we can talk in the next meeting. Meantime, we can complete our process, whatever is needed to be done. All right. The next item is the communication for levy information.
Yeah, thanks, Executive. 2 pieces on this agenda item. First one is just for the EOB, just a general discussion about how we want to move forward for the levy as related to the ballot measure and communications from the EOB and as well as elected members that may want to go out and talk about this and support this. And the second piece is I want to introduce Katie Poole. Katie Poole is a Vista volunteer through the Opportunity Council with a year-long stint with our office. Katie's designed some nice looking communications materials that we'd like to be able to send out to the public, as well as put on both the county and the city website. Katie has chaired our communications committee for the levy planning committee throughout the last year, working with Jed Holmes and Brian Heinrich out of the city to work on some joint messaging. So I'll let Katie talk first. I just want her to show you what she's done, and just so the EOB knows what we will be pushing out, and be looking for any feedback on that communication. So thanks, Katie, for all the work, and go ahead.
You mute Mike and switch
Hold on a second. Let me mute out of here for you. Go right ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. I'll share my screen.
You might have to turn your volume down.
I think you have to turn yours.
I got mine on.
Yeah, is that better? Let's see, where did that go? There it is. Yeah, so I worked on some levy materials, not as promotional materials, but just general information about the levy that we can share with residents. So this is kind of our beginner one pager, just has the levy renewal rate and what it includes. And then down below, we'll also update that web address when we finish our web page for it. And then we are also going to turn that into a 5x7 2-page handout, same information with some additional contact information on it. And then in addition, we just took some of the information from the levy plan and we turned it into a 4-page informational flyer for people. This will be linked on our website. Just goes over some additional information, including some data and some cost-related specifics. And then in addition, this is more just for the EMS office, but I think all promotional materials help with levy awareness. So we also have a brochure we're going to put out into the public that just talks about some of our programs. And then this is kind of what our county website is going to look like. We're going to have that 1-pager on it, link some of our documents to it. And then we're in the process of finishing up a FAQ sheet with some common questions we might imagine that voters will ask. And I'll show that on the next slide, our list of questions there. So we plan to have these materials out pretty soon. And I guess, Mike, are you going to be the one that would be distributing it to?
Yeah, and we'll run this by Brian again. We want to make sure that all the information and the messaging is correct. And once we have some agreement there, we go ahead and push these up to the website, and then actually any jurisdiction organization that would like to use this stuff as messaging to be able to pull that off and use it as well. So
Yeah. So any questions? Is that Mayor
Mayor,
Fleetwood?
Mayor Fleetwood?
Yeah, could you go back to the first 2 slides? I just want to take a peek at them.
Yeah.
Snap a picture.
And these aren't done yet. They need to be revisited. So,
Okay.
but
And
they'll
then-
be done soon.
And then the next one?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And so is the intention that something is going to be, doesn't the county have, refresh my memory, doesn't the county have the ability to send out a mailer? Is this going to be incorporated into something that will be sent out to all registered voters in the county?
I do not know the answer to that question.
I don't know if we can do that. I'll have to ask. I don't know about the legalities about mailing that stuff out. If it's static and they're getting it. I think yeah.
Well, yeah, you're allowed to send one factual information flyer out.
Let's do it.
It can't be a pro or con, but just a factual information flyer.
Okay. I don't know if you heard that, but Bill said we can send one informational flyer out.
That's what I'm referring to. Is
Okay.
the intention to do that?
We have not discussed that yet, but we can discuss it for the future.
But we absolutely would want to do that. Once we have a agreement with, your office, mayor, and of course, executive office, and we are sure that information is all correct. Absolutely, we would be glad to mail something out.
Presumably right around or slightly before mid-October?
I'd like to get it out like next week if possible. We want to get the website up and running by next week. And then any mailing, once we have agreement on the messaging, I would want to get that immediately.
I do tend to agree with the mayor that closer to the ballot date, which I saw was October 19, it's better to send your mailer closer to that date. Otherwise, it'll just disappear in the shuffle.
Is that when the mail ballots go out?
That's what I saw it on there, October 19th. That's the date.
That's
there.
physically when I should be getting, well, of us will be getting.
Yeah. That's when it's mailed. How you might get it the next day, knowing the postal service.
Yeah.
Ideally, you have it show up in their mailbox. if they're valid.
Yeah.
Mike Lilliquist?
Yeah, the conversation is exactly what I wanted to speak to. These, I like the simple and informative nature of these, and I do believe that it's only responsible for all voters, registered voters, to receive at least a postcard with this information on it. And I also agree that mid-October would be the right time to aim for.
I had a question do we have a promotional committee, marketing committee, whatever, or the campaign committee for this particular purpose? I remember that back in 2016, there was a group, it may not be EOB, but there was outside group from the unions and other people. I just wanted to get some kind of rundown. What is the plan? Anything anybody can share would be good for the board members.
Yeah, Executive Division Chief McDermott over here. I know he was deeply involved in that campaign back in 2016, so I think he would have some information for you for current times.
Oh, okay. We will talk in the topic number.
Sure. I do.
Yeah, we're bringing Dan up to the microphone now, Paul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And just be clear, I'm kind of switching hats. I was the treasurer and one of 4 members on the pro campaign for the EMS levy in 2016. But we had a different political environment and a different timeline environment. At that time, the EMS plan was approved in March and it was endorsed by all entities in April. And so we had June, July, August, and August for fundraising. And we ran a $130,000 pro campaign and did a ballot chase after that, which resulted in that ballot measure passing with 41 votes. That was Local 106's effort, and there just simply isn't time to raise that much funds. We have, well, if the ballots drop on the 19th, we have a little over 30 days to get that done. There's just no environment for Local 106 to get involved with fundraising to the level we can target voters to flip, so to speak.
That's okay, but still, you know, like we talked about, the flyer we can send as a county or with the government funding would be just a factual information. That would not be persuasive. It will be secondarily persuasive, but primarily it will be informational. And I think under the law, we can educate a voter what this EMS levy is about. And now we have some past history of 6 years, its accomplishments, and we have a EMS plan, what we intend to do with this money. But I think the elections are elections and they need persuasion or they need some political answering there may be different groups, there may be different people opposing it, maybe groups opposing it, maybe not. I don't know that part of it, but you know, do we have a mechanism outside of the us employees and us as board members who are willing to work on that?
You're exactly right. And as Local 106's representative on the EMS Planning Committee, 2 years ago, I was very clear in stating if we don't have the EMS plan ready in the first quarter of 2022, then Local 106 is not going to be able to mount an effective campaign, nor would they be able to with this timeline to be able to vote as a body with their internal process to be able to decide on an amount to finance to do this. I agree with you. There just, with this timeline, very likely isn't the ability for Local 106 to mount a pro campaign.
Okay. Mike Lilliquist and then Mayor Fleetwood.
I want to be really careful with this discussion.
Yes.
I think each and every one of us might or might not individually want to be involved in such an effort, but I don't think the EOB should go too far in discussing it or coordinating it or encouraging it. I think we're okay so far, but yeah, I mean, my personal preferences on whether and how a campaign is run is going to stay personal, and I'm not going to talk about it, I think, here on EOB.
Thank you. Mayor Fleetwood?
Well, Councilmember Lilliquist is probably right. In fact, I think he is, so that influences the question I was going to ask, but there should be some coordination going on. There's still 4 or 5 weeks before something would need to go out. There's still an opportunity to do something more than it seems we're presently doing. So I suspect some of us will get together outside of this sort of official meeting.
Yeah, and I just want to relate. I remember I was on the council and Mr. Laus was the county executive, and they sent a mailer about the jail at the jail levy in 2017. And boy, that was so much controversial and with the council and with the public and all this. So we should be careful about that. But I just wanted to bring up this question that there is a need for something like this, and however we organize. But officially, I think we can be just very factual what it is, what we have done to date as EMS body, and what we intend to do in future as EMS. And that's about it. Okay, we will, I just want everybody to give some thought and maybe talk about outside of this body or individual basis, if somebody wants to participate, how, when, which way we should do that. And everybody is welcome to help because our interest is that we receive public acceptance and public approval so that we can continue to do the job we have been entrusted to do, and with the budget which is approved by the public. Okay. Thanks for
comment.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Paul, on the factual side of it, we're asking for 29.5 cents again. I didn't see it in there, but that we're probably at 19 cents today, roughly, and that's a 10-cent increase. Somewhere in there, we should say, well, that's $50 for a $500,000 home. And for that extra $50, we get a very good service. And that's a fact that it's a 30% increase. Okay, that's one fact. But the fact that it's only $50 a year for a $500,000 house, that should be in there somehow to relay the message of how important this is and how good a value that is.
Okay.
So committee, if you can roll that in somehow, I would appreciate that.
I would say that right now that Katie, we appreciate all the work you have done, and you can do some more work and work with Mike Healy. And if you guys can come up with in addition to what you are saying here, or maybe morphing some of this work, which could be on our website also. And we would like to have this given to all the board members so that they have the ability to comment on that, on the content. And even this content, what you have prepared, you can put a word draft on it and send it to the board members for their comments, so that this is not just coming from 1 or 2 people. It has the input from the board members themselves. I don't know the right answer as we speak, but I think something we do need to be very informative and responsive. If people have questions, we should be able to respond to those questions.
Yes, that sounds good. And we will try to get out the materials very soon for the board's approval on them.
Yeah, before it even goes on the website, because it should be some of the basic information you have, it can go on the website, it's fine. But anything more than that, I think that let the members give them a timeline that you can respond by this time, then you know if somebody didn't respond. they don't want to respond, that way you have a time frame to put this material on the website.
Yes, yes. And our website is currently in draft form. It's not published, so we'll wait until all that is finished up.
Okay.
And we can get that out to you, I think, first thing in the morning, tomorrow, executives to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for all this work. It is very much needed. And like Mr. McDermott said, that timing this year is different. And but we got to work with what we have. All right. So the next item is the any more comments on this item first? Okay.
I just, executive, I think on that one pager that was approved by the voters back in 2016, in the fall of 2016. So that might need to be corrected if I'm correct anyhow.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And the next item is BLS allocation discussion. So I will start with that, and then we can have some discussion on that. You remember that in our June meeting, I believe it was June meeting, that we did approve $5 million budget for disbursement for the BLS to different agencies. And we did talk at that point that based on our budget for the EMS levy and our expectations that this is going to pass and we'll have money. I think that I am a little bit more cautious about this, and we are more middle of September already, and we have just less than 6 weeks, or maybe 6 weeks plus left for the election day. And just out of abundance of caution, I am proposing that we should delay this disbursement until after the levy results. Well, let me just start with this. Any comments about that?
Well, just as a formality, if I may, if memory serves, this body already supported a motion to support the disbursement. So are you, as a matter of process, proposing that this body reconsider that previous decision?
No, I am just delaying what I am thinking of doing.
Okay.
Well, let me ask.
Mr. Lilliquist.
Yeah, I wonder if this would be understood by people. I think it might actually lead to misunderstanding. One of the potential criticisms for the EMS levy renewal is that there's too much money we don't need to pass the levy. That was one of the criticisms or discussion points that I've heard. And also I think it figured in the county council's quick reversal of a decision to cut the levy rate and then go back to the original levy rate, is there's this feeling that there's too much money already. We don't need the money. Truth is, we need the money. The BLS providers need the money. I think if you held it back, it could be misunderstood that we don't need the money. So if the concern is about making sure we continue to pay for the EMS system, I think this could put that in jeopardy.
Yep, thank you. Anybody else?
I would agree with that also, that it shows poor faith, excuse me, especially with these numbers that you've given us today. We seem to have plenty of money for the reserve. I think it would send a bad signal out to the public also that we don't have confidence in our plan. And this money was generated through GEMT money and is worthy of going to BLS responders.
Okay. Who was that? I can't really make out that far. Can you state your name, please?
Rob Roy Graham.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
Any other comment?
I'll weigh in. I'll weigh in a second. I know the reserve is high. I think the criticism of whether we use it right now, 6 weeks before the election or wait to the election, I think there is some wisdom in waiting to see what the electorate says, because if it doesn't pass, which I'm pretty sure it will, if it doesn't pass, we'll burn through a lot of money in a hurry trying to figure out what to do. And it just, as prudence, it seems wise to wait 6 weeks and find out. But I'm willing to go with the body, but I think there's some wisdom here.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Mayor.
Well, my understanding is that this decision was made to disperse the $5 million, firstly and foremostly, based on a demonstration of real need. It's going to legitimate important things that each of our respective organizations have documented they need. But importantly, we ensured that there would remain sufficient reserve funds per our policy to guarantee 1 year of operation in the event it didn't pass. So I'm inclined to, since you're seeking just opinions of where we're at, to support the reasoning that was suggested by initially by Mr. Lillquist.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for your comments. I just want to weigh in a different perspective, and which I have already done that even in the previous meetings. Using this word that we have money, it will give different perception. All this, these are just words we are trying to wrap around the facts. The fact is that we have too much money, and we should admit that. We are not here just for, we are ultimately, we are all public servants. We are all taxpayers ourselves, and we are all part of that how much burden do we put on our citizens? The fact is we do have too much money. We can't deny that. So I think that it is still, I feel prudent that we should, in my judgment, that we should wait 6 weeks. It's not that critical till November to disperse the funds. I want to bring a second point of discussion for everybody's benefit, is that, you know, the way it was passed by EOB, and I did express my opposition to that at that time also. And I want to bring it up again, that this disbursement has to be done in a different way. It should be more like need. You know, to me, if we have Fire District 7, City of Linden, and City of Bellingham, that makes up more than 80% of the total money or more. If we want to really help, and we think money is really needed, is needed by the small districts. And if you know, money need to be given now or in right now, I would rather just give it to those 2 or 3 fire districts, or how many they are, and hold back on these 3 major recipients. But in future, I would like that we as EOB board should come up with a better way to disperse this money on need basis and growth basis rather than just this formula. I feel strongly about it, but I want to express that to everybody, because ultimately all the money we get, it is meant for this purpose, and we should use it for this purpose. We tried our best in last 6 years, and we end up with $18-19 million unspent. So yeah, sure. If anybody has any comments, please, you're welcome. Go ahead, Michael.
Me, Michael?
Yes,
So-
Mr. Lilyquist.
Yeah, that's third to you. No, it's not Paul. A couple things. I think it's misleading to say that we have quote unquote too much money. My understanding of the way the levy rate works is that you set it at a certain dollar amount, which is translated as a millage, but it's really set as a dollar amount.
Yes.
Based on that millage. And then that dollar amount stays with some slight elevators, but it doesn't grow the way costs grow. And so in order to fund fully across a long period, you're going to assume kind of a degree of overfunding early and underfunding later. And so we have to build up healthy reserves. I don't think that's having quote unquote too much money. Having healthy reserves, I don't think should be described as too much money. It's a healthy number. And I don't think I share your view. You won't be surprised on the fairness of the formula. I think fairness requires that those who do the work, those who incur the costs, get reimbursed for those costs. Bellingham shouldn't be penalized because we have an otherwise healthy tax base and because we have good reserves elsewhere that we can shift around to cover temporary shortfalls. We shouldn't be penalized for our scale and our good financial practices, because we still incur genuine costs at the same rate of everyone else. And we should be reimbursed if anyone is reimbursed, or supported if anyone is supported by the same formula. So I think you and I may disagree on that.
Okay, Hank?
You. My name is Hank Mailing. I'm the fire chief for Whatcom County Fire District 16, also the representative as the president of the Fire Chiefs Association. I was one of the original members through the Fire Chiefs Association that worked on this plan originally a little over a year ago to talk about being able to pay down approximate some monies to make this look a little bit better from the taxpayer's point of view. We worked on this over the months and we came up with that formula, and at the Chiefs Association, it was a unanimous vote that we agreed with the formula that we came up with. We felt it was fair to everyone by that formula. So as the Chiefs Association, that formula was what we used, and to my knowledge, everybody feels it's a fair formula. There is some of us that have maybe some more needs than others, but there again, we felt that formula was fair in the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel?
Hi, my name is Rachel Carlson, the fire chief for Whatcom Fire 1. I just wanted to speak to delineating Bellingham and Ferndale from EMS is short-sighted, just in that they are our ALS for the entire county. And if we don't fund them appropriately along with us, our burden goes up and we cannot do ALS without them. So I would encourage you not to consider them a separate entity in EMS as a whole.
Okay. Thanks, Rachel.
Commissioner Graham has a hand up, executive.
Sure, please. I could see it.
I would like to add that early on in this process, I asked all the chiefs throughout the county what their needs would be if they were to be granted this money. I got positive responses from everyone. Every district had money, had needs that they could spend this money on. It wasn't just the county. It was all three of the cities and the counties the same. And I feel that, you know, they've got, like I think somebody already said, we all have the same challenges. And the fact that Bellingham, I know just from memory, their call load is extreme and consequently they should get a little bit more money. But I don't think that being a city should not entitle them to some of this money. And I feel very strongly that it should. I wonder, you're telling us you want to put it off, but if you put it off, then what's going to happen if the levy fails? It sounds to me like you want to put it off and then you want to spend it. So on something other than the BLS allocation. So I'm reluctant to agree with that process. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me address a couple of things. I think it's hard to keep track of everybody's comments, but I will try to answer that. My aim is not to spend it something else, but just imagine if this thing was passed at 19.9 cents. What would we do as a board if that was the decision? Just a question, okay? The second thing is that let's talk on dollar numbers, not the levy rate. Levy rate is actually a misnomer. So we envisioned something with $8.5 million a year for 6 years. That's say $50 million, give and take. And we ended up spending that $50 million with all the plans and everything. We ended up with $16-18 million in surplus or in reserves. And that was our first year, the first levy. And then we came up with $13.5 million for next 6 years. When Michael, you said that, okay, assess heavy or get more money up front and then do that. The money up front we got in the first levy should have impacted the second levy. With your formula, with your thought that if you had reserves and everything, or you should assess yourself higher up front so that if there's surplus, then you can use at the end. So this is the end of the first levy. So we assessed ourselves $50 million. We spent 35. And now we assessed ourselves for $80 million going forward. I mean, we need to look at overall picture. I know you guys are too close to that profession. It is affecting your personal lives and your personal departments and everything. And most of the people in the fire profession. But when you step back and look at it overall, it has a different picture. And I know I'm not making myself popular with some people or with maybe a lot of people, but this is not something which is doing any good for the county. We don't gain anything out of it. All I'm saying is that we should all collectively look at our overall plan and where we are going with it. I see somebody in the back has a hand up. I can't make out who it is. Please go ahead.
This is Division Chief Rickman from Bellingham Fire Department. Hopefully you
Okay.
can hear me okay.
Yeah. Yes,
I just have a bigger concern, and I guess I'd like a direct answer if we can get it. As I'm sitting back here listening to this, there seems to be a philosophical debate, which is beside the point. The point is Technical Advisory Board, the Executive Oversight Board, and the county through an adopted ordinance 2022-044 all passed this to go forward. This very much feels like a way to have, I'm just going to be blunt because I'm a taxpayer as well, but this feels like a way to subvert the process. So I would like, I guess, a better answer on process alone and governmental process and the democratic process and the way that we did this. How can you justify basically saying, let's wait and revisit this? We've made the decision. It was made in a fair and balanced way, vetted through all the process. This very much feels like a filibuster. And, you know, I can't wrap my head around it. And I would like to know what the justification, if I turn around and say, you know, it just seems like this is a slippery slope and the legality of it is just questionable.
Okay, let me answer that. I'm not trying to do anything illegal, if that is on your minds. The second thing is, I'm making you think 10 years from now, not what you have been doing for last 10 years or 20 years. This is how this process works. Even in democratic process, you improve upon what you have been doing, not saying, oh, we have been doing like this, we should continue to do like this. I'm not changing the resolution which we passed in this body in June. I have not said that a word about that, or I intend to do that change the resolution at all. I have not said that. All I'm saying is, how do we go about in future? Isn't that up for discussion? How would we act ourselves responsible for future? That's why people elect us. That's why we take up these jobs. If this is such a mechanical thing, then we don't need that many people. That's what I'm challenging everybody. I'm not subverting the process. I'm not changing the process. Yes, it is hurtful sometimes to think outside the box or think about something totally different than what we have been doing. Yes, please, I can't make out you go ahead, that hand up in the back.
Executive Sadhu, this is Division Chief McDermott. I'm probably the only person in the room, but I'm unclear about what we're talking about. I think the conversation started in regards to the BLS disbursement.
Yes.
And now I'm hearing us talking about the levy rate and our plan from 10 years from now. So if I missed something, my apologies to this group, but I'm still under the understanding that we're talking about the BLS disbursement. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. I just wanted to, I said this is the second point, and I think we delved too far into the second point. My first point was only to delay the disbursement of the BLS money. You are correct. I think I'll take back that more spirited discussion on this part. There may be another time for that.
Executive Commissioner Graham has a hand up.
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
I would just like to add that I've heard you talk about the fact that we have money left over above and beyond what we anticipated. And I think it's only fair to add that this is GEMT money that was generated, it was unexpected money. And I don't think the public will be upset that we have taken this unexpected money and given it to a worthy cause, that BLS, a department or a part of the EMS system that is really in dire needs of some monies. But the fact that it was not anticipated and is bonus, and we're giving it to an agency that needs it, to all the agencies that need it, is different than what I'm getting from what you're talking about.
Okay, anybody else has any comment? I reserve my comment on that. We can talk offline.
This Chief DeBryan, I'm just kind of curious, this is a question for Mike. As far as I can tell, this process has been, kind of drug out anyhow. I was not under the impression we were going to see any money probably until the end of the year, or even maybe the first of the year from this 5 million anyhow. So I guess my question is, we're probably not going to do anything or see anything beyond the levy anyhow. So, the voting. So I don't know. It doesn't change the process and all the decisions that have been made. But I guess my question on this is, and this is definitely a loaded question, so I apologize before I ask it, but I will ask it. Has that been part of the reason for the delay of getting this process to where it's at? Because I felt like that every time we turn around, there's been a delay of of us trying to get this and to where we could see some money out of this.
So yeah, Chief, just as a matter of process, we got budget authority for all this at the last May council meeting for that $6.4 million package. And we got the budget authority for that. The 1.4 is moved. All the contracts are written up, approved with all the information on it, stacked on our desk, ready to go. So the next step is that it would have to go back to county council so that they can approve the contract for signing by the executive. And that would happen at the appropriate meeting if the group decides not to hold up on it. Chief Hewitt has his hand up, executive.
Oh, please go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to clarify what you're proposing is that the county would not move forward on any of these contracts at your direction until we see the outcome of the election.
Yes.
They're going to change things.
And that's action you are intending to take with or without the approval of this board?
No, board is already approved. I just intend to take that action, but it does not include all the capital equipment we are buying. That is going ahead because it has a lead time and it has other implications. As soon as those contracts are ready, they will go ahead and equipment will be ordered. They're $1.4 million. There's no delay on that.
Okay, but the intention on your part would be to disregard the previous direction from these boards and take some unilateral action to delay this until you feel the time is appropriate.
Not really. The action was taken. I'm taking that action. All I'm trying to delay by 6 weeks. I'm not saying that we'll not disperse the money.
Well, if the election fails, would your intention to be not to disperse the money?
I will bring it back to this council. Then if the game plan changes, then you guys we are all in it. If you still want to disperse this money in that way, if the levy fails, let it be. I'm just one person. Okay, so if there are no other comments, we can move on to the next item. That is roundtable. For any other comments, please.
Commissioner Graham has a hand up, executive.
Go ahead, please.
So what was the outcome of this discussion?
That discussion is that we will delay the disbursement till after the election.
That's the decision.
That's what our intent is.
And this discussion didn't change anything?
No, I see that that the money, there's nothing it going to impact anything by 6 weeks. So I'm not stopping anything. I'm not putting anything in jeopardy. The capital equipment is on order. And this is just as a abundance of caution and fiscal prudence I'm trying to do. But I'm not stopping any of your regular work or regular plans. It won't impact. Even if we go through the process of the council, it'll take another month anyways. So then you are talking only 2 to 3 weeks.
But I would echo Chief Hewitt's question to you. If the levy fails, then what would happen to the $5 million?
It will come back to EOB. The game plan would have changed by then. And then we collectively sit down and decide what is the right decision to spend the money.
Executive Chief Carlson from Everson has a hand up.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to clarify on, you said our decision. Who is our? Is that the EOB or county council? What do you mean by our?
It is EOB, and then EOB decision goes to the county council. County council can come back and make some different decisions if the levy fails. We don't know. It's uncertainty that I'm seeing, that uncertainty. That if levy does not pass, there will be a lot of uncertainty for all of us together. I am all for the levy. I will support. I have supported the levy. You know, even during the discussion when council went to 19 cents, we did support 29 cents. And I'm supporting the levy. I'm very hopeful the levy is going to pass. I don't want you guys to take the impression that I'm against the levy. And this will be a new decisions to be made as EOB and new decision to be made by the county council.
But we've already approved it. The EOB has already approved distribution. TAB has approved distribution. I don't see why there's any need to. I don't see what we're gaining by putting it off. I mean, I agree that it's going to take some time to do it, but giving you're telling us that you're going to decide after the outcome of the election where the money is going to go. We've already decided where this money is going to go.
It will go to the same place then. If you guys decided that, and that's what you continue to decide, that's where it will go. I don't have that authority that I can go and change the use of this money. All I'm trying to say is let's wait 6 weeks and then do it. And if your decision is still the same after 6 weeks, let it be the same decision.
Executive,
Yes, Rachel, go ahead,
if
please.
I could clarify again, kind of going back to the hour, can you elaborate on how EOB came to that decision? EOB did not vote to hold that back, unless I've missed that. I realized I had to duck out a little bit for the meeting.
No, can you ask the question again, please?
You're saying that the EOB decided to delay that. I don't remember a vote in this meeting unless it happened at a previous one or while I was having technical difficulties.
No, I did. If I said that, I take it back. I did not say that EOB delayed this dispersion. No, I don't think EOB did not delay that.
Okay, thank you. And if I could, I realize a 6-week delay and there's going to be some time anyway. This BLS allotment, at least for District 1 and about 75 square miles of your voting public, that's going to hold back a purchase of a water tender for us because I'm going to have to use different money to put towards what the BLS allotment should cover, which for us was $289,000 of BLS equipment to provide that medical service. So a delay for District 1 is a big deal.
Yes, I agree, and I have actually expressed that I will be inclined to approve because those amounts are smaller, but they are more dire. The capacity of the other organizations is enough. If they have any dire need, they have the ability to fill that need for 6 weeks, but small districts may not be able to. Okay, any public comments?
So executive, I don't see anybody from the general public online.
Dewey, ask Dewey.
Actually, I'm sorry. We do have a member of public, also citizen representative from our finance committee, Dewey Dessler, would like to speak. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dewey.
Well, thank you. I've appreciated hearing this discussion today, and obviously there's some critical decisions that have to be made. I surely understand, this is why I wanted to mention something to the group. I surely understand the issues you face. If the levy gets turned down, the county, the city, the fire districts, all the cities are going to be really engaged in some very rapid fire decisions that they have to make to maintain the services over time. And I personally, I don't think that the modest delay that you're proposing, Seth Paul, is really harmful. But what I do think is that I would hope that all of these leaders that are here today understand that you have to get together and jointly and individually stand up and support this levy. That's the key thing. If this levy doesn't pass, it's a bigger hill to climb the next year. It's a 60% yes in November of 2023. And it's done at the same time that I understand there's going to be issues before the public on a jail, which is already somewhat, potentially concerning, as well as the elections of many of you that are engaged right now as elected officials. So, I wanted to just say this is time for bold leadership for Seth Paul, for Michael Lillquist, for all the county council members. In my mind, it would be great if every fire district and every city council and the county council passed a resolution of support for the levy if they haven't already done so. And they also ought to take their time and talents to speak. In my own experience, what I've seen over time is the voters are looking to their elected officials to indicate how they support matters like these. And I just think it's so important. So I wanted to just speak up and remind those of you who are here today that something like that has to happen. You can't just assume it's going to happen on its own. It's got to be a very diligent and directed effort on the part of especially the electeds. But I think the fire chiefs have an obligation as well, and the fire commissioners also have a responsibility to speak up. So those are my comments. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I surely, having been here working on these matters over many years, I can appreciate the challenges that exist. So those are my comments, Seth Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Dewey.
Yeah, I have a quick reply to Dewey. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to let you know, Dewey, we've City Council with my sponsorship has drafted a resolution urging voters to support the EMS levy. It'll be introduced, I think, at the next meeting. And then after that, officially, of course, the city then walks away from any electioneering.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to chime in and thank Dewey for that comment. It's heard loud and clear. It's appreciated.
I personally have talked to council members privately for this sport as well.
I'll just make one other comment. I've watched EMS levies fail, and I've watched them succeed. And I personally think that, in my own experience, that one of the defining factors is really the extent to which the elected officials stand up and say we really need to do this. When the first EMS tax measure passed in 2005, we had, and I was so proud of this, we had every single elected official, everyone from all city councils, all fire districts, and the entire county council, they all signed off on the support of this matter. And I think that had to do a lot with getting a 67% yes vote on that levy measure. So
Was it 2004, Dewey?
2005.
2005.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other comments, public comments?
Executive CD, I don't see any other public comment out there. Nobody has their hand raised. And as we wind up the meeting, I do want to put on the record that Citizen Representative Hall Walker is present at the meeting. He came on, I think, about 5 or 10 minutes into the meeting. So he's present as part of the EOB today.
Thank you.
Sorry for being late.
Yeah, and actually executive, no, okay. Disregard my last, Sat Paul, thank you.
Okay, well, having no comments, and thank you for your time, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.